Did you know that the Star Wars character R2D2 played a pivotal role in why the women dropped their sexual abuse lawsuit against IBLP and Bill Gothard? So far in this series, we have looked at how a group of women became convinced through repressed memories that they were sexually harassed and abused by Bill Gothard, and used those accusations to file a lawsuit seeking millions of dollars in damages against IBLP, the Christian organization that the Duggar family participates in. In the docuseries Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets, the lawsuit is presented as proof of how horrid IBLP and Gothard really are. But there is no mention of the fact that all the allegations in it were based on repressed memories. When I found out this fact, it is what spurred me to want to dig deeper into all the allegations that were made in the program. If they left out that huge piece of information that sheds the light of context onto the entire case, what other facts did they leave out? So I started digging into the specific allegations in the lawsuit that was filed in 2016 called Wilkinson versus IBLP, got as many of the court documents as I could get my hands on, and interviewed anyone who was willing to talk about it. What I found was the owners of a website called Recovering Grace, whose sole purpose was to take down IBLP and Gothard, were heavily involved in this entire event and hoped to gain monetarily from it as well. I'll explain that in a minute. But there was also another lie in Shiny Happy People and in the interviews plaintiffs have given online, repeated on Recovering Grace, and even on Wikipedia about this lawsuit. It has to do with R2D2. R2D2 was the real reason the plaintiffs dropped the lawsuit. In the Shiny Happy People docuseries, Emily Anderson says they dropped it due to the statute of limitations. When she said that at first, I thought, how can that be? The lawsuit was in full swing, and obviously it was allowed to move forward, or it would have been scrapped right from the start if the statute of limitations was a problem. How could it move forward at all? When I looked into this issue, of course, the defense had brought up the statute of limitations as an objection and wanted the entire suit dismissed on that basis. I found that the judge had applied a law that would make the statute of limitations begin from 2012. So he had in essence used this law, which basically went around the usual statute of limitations, that would have stopped this lawsuit in its tracks, and did so in this case due to the plaintiffs' ages and their claims of repressed memories. This allowed the suit to proceed. But here's the kicker. The judge had given the plaintiffs a deadline to turn over information to discovery that they did not want to reveal. It was the contents of a secret Facebook group entitled R2D2 that was created by John Underwood, an attorney, and the husband of Carrie Underwood, one of the founders of Recovering Grace. They named it R2D2 because they thought this would keep it from being discovered by the defense. This was one of several secret chat groups online that the defense was hiding. In a minute, I will reveal the amount of money the Underwoods were expecting to receive if the lawsuit was successful. In November of 2017, the defendants were aware that the plaintiffs were hiding information that was due them. They asked the judge to compel the plaintiffs to provide this information, and in response, the plaintiffs' lawyers lied to the court, denying any private communications existed that had not already been revealed. When it was discovered that this was not true and the plaintiffs were still hiding several chat groups, specifically R2D2, the judge ordered that they had to turn over this information to discovery. It was found that John Underwood, an attorney, and again, the husband of Recovering Grace founder Carrie Underwood, had clearly organized and orchestrated the lawsuit, had the women sign retainers and confidentiality agreements, and was therefore named in the subpoena to turn over the hidden information. This revealed that there was a conspiracy at play, and the entire facade was starting to seriously fray. When the lawyers for the accusers heard the name R2D2 in court, they immediately panicked. They had been caught. In response, the plaintiffs started meticulously deleting R2D2 in order to hide the conspiracy that was being discussed within it. One plaintiff wrote to several others, quote, "I'm scared to delete R2D2, unquote, because she was concerned about the legality of doing so. Another wrote, quote, "Should we come up with a way to divide the copy-pasting we seem relevant?" unquote, referring to the things they wanted to save when deleting R2D2. The deadline to turn this information over was in February of 2018. It turns out that John Underwood did not turn over the documentation on February 15th as he was required to do by law through the judge's subpoena. So, on February 20th, the formal motion to dismiss was filed by the plaintiffs. The same week they had to turn over the contents of their secret Facebook group, R2D2, much of which they had clearly unlawfully been deleting. They dropped the lawsuit. This makes it clear that that was why they dropped it. It had nothing to do with the statute of limitations. But Shiny Happy People just hinted at this without giving the information that was relevant because, again, it did not fit their narrative, and likely because they had not even researched it out anyway to see what the real reason was for Gothard to claim conspiracy. This wasn't in line at all with what they wanted the audience to know.
One of our factors was statute of limitations, and the lawsuit was dismissed.
They dropped it in order to avoid having to reveal this information to the defense. From interviews I did with several who were in the courtroom at the time, the judge was shocked. He did not expect the plaintiffs to drop the suit. He had already basically waived the statute of limitations, so to speak, so that could not have been the reason they dropped it. They didn't want to reveal the true and complete contents of the discussions between the plaintiffs and with the owners of the Recovering Grace website, among other discussions. It had been revealed plainly that the owners of this website were involved in getting the women together to file the lawsuit in order to take down IBLP and Gothard, gain monetarily from it, and were deeply involved in the planning of it, including getting the women to employ certain lawyers for the lawsuit. This was all supposed to be kept under the table, so to speak. And as compensation for all this, John Underwood was to receive a 5% portion of the proceeds that would come from the windfall they were expecting when the suit was won. With millions of dollars at stake, 5% would be a significant amount. Without counting punitive damages, the plaintiffs were asking for a whopping $8.5 million. That alone would have given the Recovering Grace owners around $425,000, again, not counting the other monetary damages that might be incurred. Once the suit was dropped, the lawyers for IBLP and Gothard warned the defendants that the next move by the plaintiffs' lawyers would likely be to advise their clients to claim that they dropped the suit due to the statute of limitations, among other things. A rather general statement, because they knew they would have to give a reason to the public, and this would provide a false narrative which would give them a way to avoid revealing the real reason. And that is exactly what has happened. Now, the false narrative that the suit was dropped due to the statute of limitations is not only stated as fact in numerous interviews by the plaintiffs and in Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets, but also in articles in the press and online. But despite all this, or maybe because they have the media backing this false narrative, several of the plaintiffs continue to insist that the lawsuit was dropped mainly due to the statute of limitations. That is just not true. Every time they say this, it is a lie. And this lie isn't due to repressed memories. Next time, the Bible of the Repressed Memories movement, called The Courage to Heal, is another aspect of this story. We will look at what this book teaches and how it has influenced the women in the failed Repressed Memories lawsuit. Please remember to subscribe and hit those like and notification buttons. And if you want this information to get out into the public, please share this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you here next time.